for listening to what we're going to talk about. I want to talk to Paul. He has an awesome Substack. It's called Human Stack. Um, there's a lot that I want to dive into, but he really focuses on being optimistic about human potential for good. He also uses AI. He uses Cloud Code. So a lot there to dive into. But Paul, why don't you introduce yourself and just share a little bit about the why behind your Substack?
Sure. So I started writing about a year ago. Traditionally, I've worked in training and coaching and leadership development. I work as part of HR teams for the last 10 years or so. Um, and last year, I kind of got to a point in my career, I didn't know really what I wanted to do. So I was getting more and more interested in AI. Like a lot of people, I started using ChatGPT about 3 years or so ago, and I sort of saw its potential as a learning tool.
Mhm.
And I wasn't getting the opportunity to sort of learn about it in the role that I was doing. So I started writing. It's something I would suggest to managers who are in senior positions like I was. It's a good development format. I started writing on LinkedIn primarily, and then the opportunity came to me to take over somebody else's newsletter. Actually, so the
Oh,
Human
interesting.
Stack actually started under a different name, and I took it over, and then it was actually focused on books, and it was about reading books, and it was about learning from those books and developing from those books and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I took that over from somebody else, and then slowly sort of shaped it into to what it is today. That took a while, but it really started very, very selfishly. I just wanted to write about me, and my work and AI, just to really figure out what I actually wanted to do with myself because I kind of felt a little bit lost and I felt like I'd hit a bit of a ceiling in terms of my career. Um, and then in September of last year, I actually broke away from that position that I was in. I went freelance. I started my own business. I started
Nice.
contracting, and I've spent, well, let's say it was the sort of first 4 or 5 months of that period, pretty much just sat in this room on my own, trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life. And now at 44, that I was sort of unemployed, if you like. Um, the newsletter was really helpful with that. It became a bit of a crutch at one point because it was just something I enjoyed doing so much. It's become very much a passion project, and I started like a lot of people wanting to monetize it and want it to be a source of income.
Mhm.
And I think I've realized, partly because my readers have been very, very clear about their thoughts about that, but also just my heart wasn't in that
Yeah.
either. So I think it was around about Christmas time, I wrote an edition where I said, right, okay, it's free. Everything's free. I'm not going to try and charge you anything. I'm not going to try and sell you anything. I'm probably going to see if I can work with some sponsors as a way of, just
Mhm.
sort of paying the bills. And that just allowed me to concentrate on writing stuff that I actually wanted to write about without
Yeah.
having to worry about other things. And that's kind of where it is now. So it's about a year old now. It's almost exactly a year old, I would say. And it's pretty much at the point where it's what I want it to be, which is something I really care about, something I really enjoy doing, um, and something I think sort of feeds quite nicely into the business. It doesn't bring me any direct revenue, and that's absolutely fine. What it does do is it helps with the consulting work that I do.
Yeah.
I do some writing for an agency as well, so it was helpful in that regard as well. So it's a good way of sort of keeping up with what's going on. It's a good way of teaching people about stuff, which is primarily what I do for a living.
Mhm.
And it's since joining Substack in November, I think it was. It's been really nice to be part of a community of other people who care about this as well. So you and I can see some other names in the chat as well. There's a like genuinely astonishingly talented bunch of people out there who are teaching people how to use AI in the right way, and it's so nice to see that. And
Yeah.
I wonder if you feel the same, but it really sort of makes you write better as well because you see,
Yeah, it really is. It's like a playground of people who are all learning together.
yeah,
That's what I think when I see writers who like you, like a lot of the people that I named here on chat. It They didn't start writing to make money.
mm,
They started learning and then wanted to share their learning process with others. That's really where my writing started. They say you learn better by teaching. So you learn, you put it on paper like you. I'm not a coder. My background is business, but I've really developed a passion for what it is that AI can do for
Mm.
people when used correctly.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's a huge demand for it. I think it can make a huge difference for people. Most just they just don't know how to use it well. So I love all the voices that we have on Substack that are helping on that end.
Yeah, it's really encouraging to see, and I think it's really important as well. And it's you try to find that balance there. You don't want to overhype it, and you don't want to be all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Um, but it does feel like it's. I don't think people understand the change that all the potential change that something
Yeah.
like this is going to bring to us. I mean, the way I'm using Claude now, especially, I've got it on my desktop. Um, I've built a team of agents that
Hmm.
I work with. I check in with them every day. We run sprints. We have communication issues. I have to do performance conversations with them if they don't pull their weight. It's kind of like managing a team of people. And I feel like we're still very, very much at the beginning of what that looks like.
Hmm.
But imagine what that is if it's like this now, what is that
Yeah.
like in 5 years or 10 years? And I think that's what I'd like people to know, and not from a sort of like it's gonna be the end of humanity sort of thing, but like if you have a job and if you have 5, 10, 15 years left of your career, this is something you need to start learning. And the great thing I think about AI as a technology in terms of how to learn it, you don't have to be technical.
Yeah.
And that's the real trick, I think, is
It's leveled the playing field. I
yeah,
mean, it really has.
yeah. It's if you're good at asking questions and you're curious about stuff and you don't mind, you know, breaking the occasional thing, um, you'll fly with AI.
Yeah.
You know, if you go in there with a curious mindset, um, you can do wonders. I've got a friend, her name is Rebecca, she lives in Germany, and she had an idea. She works in product and engineering, so she's got some technical, experience behind her, but she had this idea. She has 2 kids, and her and her husband, Mark, who's a former colleague and very good friend, were traveling and they had 2 kids. And like most parents, they were taking their kids out to tourist attractions and what have you. And their kids just got bored. You know, they're in Turkey seeing the Blue Mosque and this sort of thing. The kids, they're 5 years old. They don't care. So Rebecca had this idea. She created this book where it had AI generated characters, and she would give this book information about this the Blue Mosque, for example, and it would write a story around that attraction. And so the night before, they would read in that story with these characters, and
Mhm.
just like parents do with their kids, they read in a bedtime story, and that would get them really excited about going to see the tourist attraction the next day.
Nice.
And that just came from Rebecca being really curious.
Yeah.
You know, as we often discuss in Substack, she had a problem that needed fixing, and that's how she fixed it. And now that's her business. That's what she does. Um,
Really? Huh.
and you hear stories like that, and it's really heartwarming, really.
Yeah.
And I want people to see that sort of stuff for themselves.
Yeah. I come from a similar place. I think AI, especially I'm very involved in the nonprofit side,
Mm,
and I coach and do consulting with leaders across every area. I'm working with a few in healthcare right now, um, some in talent acquisition, and just different areas. But everybody has a mission to make the world better, at least the
mhm,
people that I work with. So, what I like to tell myself, and the reason that I do everything I do is if I can help them get 10, 20, 30% better at doing what it is that they are born to do,
mm.
I can have a small part in that. I'm having a small part in how they're making the world better. So that's what I try to do. That's what I try to do when I coach. I have a similar experience. I write about some of the biggest problems that I see people are facing, some tutorials, some opinion pieces, and then if anybody has, I mentioned, if anybody has this a similar issue, let me know. I'd love to work with you. And I have a lot of different organizations that are coming to me, that are talking and coaching. And for the first time recently, since I'm not a coder, which I think what does being a coder mean in 2026? I'm not sure.
Somebody sent me a
Um,
video the other day of, I forget the gentleman's name, but somebody from Anthropic, one of their, director of engineering or whatever it was. And he said his hook for the video was, "We've largely solved coding now." Okay. We're all he said, "We'll" he said, "In a year's time, we'll all be builders." And I appreciate there's a bit of marketing spin on that, but I think he also had a point, this idea that you can
yeah,
become a creator of something, a builder of something.
yeah, you do need to understand how to do it well. I mean, Caro here, she is one of the top building Substacks that teaches you how to build things.
I Yes, I've seen Cara's, it's amazing, like, I think she's someone who's absolutely flying on Substack at the minute, it's really nice to see.
Yeah, no, she's doing awesome, and but it has open projects where before I would talk to organizations and say, "This is how I think you can implement AI strategically." Now I can say, "By the way, you need this one feature. I can build a whole feature from scratch." And
Mhm.
I've shipped already multiple products for companies that
Mm,
they're using, and they own it 100%. They don't have to pay subscription fees to some random SaaS company. So it really is a new era when it comes to leadership. But this is the question that I want to ask you. Your profile says, and on Substack, unapologetically optimistic about the human potential for good, despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. So there, there's a lot there. I agree with you that we're coming to an era where leaders have to learn how to lead the collaboration between AI agents and
mm,
people.
yeah.
And really making the most out of the value of each. But how do how are leaders supposed to approach this new system where they're not just leading people, they're also leading AI agents, but they need to get the best out of both of them?
I think what's scary for a lot of the folks that I work with, and I'm not talking about the CEOs here, I'm talking about the folks with, boots on the ground, as you might say. Um, they hear that AI is coming for their jobs, and
Mhm.
that's what they hear a lot of. So a lot of the first conversations I have, it's one of 2 conversations. It's, "Is AI gonna take my job?" Or, "Actually, I've tried ChatGPT a couple of years ago and it was rubbish. I didn't like it. Um, it uses M dashes too much," or whatever. It's like, "Have you tried it recently?"
M dashes have gotten so much hate.
I know.
That
I leave them in now. I leave just to make a point. I'm still keeping my M dashes.
oh,
Um, I think there's a genuine worry, and I think what frightens me personally a little bit is that senior leadership often see an opportunity for efficiency, high productivity, and a smaller, um, payroll,
mm,
and and people know this. If you have spent the last year or so being asked to record and document your workflows, at some point you're going to wake up and go, "Hang on, why are they asking me to document all of this stuff?" And then,
yeah.
sure enough, and I've seen this personally. Sure enough, a new system comes in, and suddenly you don't need as many people anymore. And people are not stupid; they're very savvy to this. And I have to make senior leaders aware of that fact.
Mhm.
People know, because what they'll do to me, and again, I'm almost quoting verbatim here from one CEO. "I want to 10x everyone." I'm like, okay, firstly, stop watching whatever YouTube channel you're
Yeah.
watching, because it's too much. But it's that, the message that people are getting, I think, who are actually doing the work, is more productivity, more efficiency, less people, and more risk to your job, or even just your status within your organization. And that's really scary for people. And I think that's just something we have to acknowledge.
Mhm. I think acknowledging is a big piece. I think I don't know how many times I've seen companies who've just failed at a big AI implementation that they've put hundreds of thousands of dollars into because they never acknowledged the human element of
Mm,
an AI implementation. They brought in this new tool, but just because it's an AI tool, they thought everybody would adopt it. But they never went through the process of seeing, you know, are people fearing that this is going to take over their jobs? Are people, how do people feel about AI? I mean, if I tell my team at my nonprofit organization, if I say use this new AI tool, you're going to be able to. I'm going to be expecting 4 times as much output from you starting next week. Just
mm,
they're not going to want to use it.
yeah,
It's going to be their enemy.
yeah.
So, what is the inverse of that? What is a way that you recommend leaders to approach
So we
introducing AI into their organizations?
we look at jobs very honestly, and we try and best as we can to figure out how they're going to change. And we can't predict it. It's so hard to predict, isn't it? I mean, you look where AI was a year ago to where it is now.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Like and again, that's another scary thing. The pace is a
Yeah.
thing, and
I mean, I have a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, and it's scary to think. I mean, I have no clue what the world that they're
no,
going to when they come out of school. What's the world going to be?
no. Right?
I don't know.
So the pace has changed really. So we have to acknowledge that jobs are going to change, and you might look at jobs that are more at risk than others. So jobs that I see at risk, if you work in accountancy finance, like you need to buckle up because there's going to be some big changes there. If
Mhm.
you work in any sort of administrative role, so there's a lot of where I live in the UK, there's a lot of manufacturing, and they're very slow to adopt AI. They're probably the lowest on the list in terms of organizations or industries that are adopting. And in the offices in those sorts of places, there's administrators and there's coordinators, and those are the people who essentially move information around and keep stuff organized. Those jobs will definitely go. There's going to be a point where your day is organized by an AI. Like that is going to happen. If you look at EAs, executive assistants, PAs, personal assistants, whatever you want to call them, the folks who report to CEOs, instrumental in organizations normally. They know so much about what the business is and where it's going. And obviously spend a lot of their time coordinating things and booking meetings and scheduling stuff. Um, all of that stuff will go
Yeah.
eventually. When I don't know, but it will go. But what's really interesting about those people specifically is that the knowledge they've got in the head of the company of
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm joking here, but I always say whenever I meet a new EA and I'm trying to befriend them, I always say to them, "You know where all the bodies are buried, don't?" Because they know the business better
Yeah.
than anyone else,
Yeah.
likely because they have so many touch points, and that knowledge is incalculably valuable. So the question for a role like that is, how do you make that useful to the business?
Yeah.
Um,
'Cause
so
I was gonna push back on the executive assistant piece because it's the execution part that when I think of what is AI gonna take off the table first, it's all the execution roles where you get a clear set of instructions and it's repetitive and you
yes,
get from A to B every single time. So, for example, somebody who is picking up the phone every time that somebody in the organization, somebody in HR who an employee has a question, they answer the phone, they say, "Let me look up the manual. It is
yeah,
policy
yeah,
575. This is the policy." AI can do that cheaper and 100% better because they're not going to make any mistakes.
yeah,
So, but somebody like an executive assistant, you're talking about usually the gatekeeper to a CEO or to an executive,
mhm,
and they have so much they know all the unwritten rules
they
that
do.
that cannot be written down. I think that's a lot harder to put AI into.
Yeah, it is, and I hope that's what's exciting about being an EA. So
Yeah.
if you go to an EA and say, right, we can take all the executional stuff away from you, or most of it. We can take 60% of it away.
Mhm.
Figuring out how to get 6 people in a room together on a Tuesday afternoon or whatever. Um, and instead, what we want you to do is take this knowledge and do X, Y, and Z. Like my hope is that that's more exciting to that person.
Yeah.
because that's really what their status is. That's what their power is. And
Yeah.
I think that's the sort of conversations we need to be having with people, recognizing that they have skills that are invaluable to an organization or a career,
Mhm.
and then making sure they're getting the opportunity to use those skills,
Yeah.
and hopefully taking the drudge work away from them a little bit as well. But then again, on the flip side of that, you have to be fairly realistic because we're not quite there yet. We're still in that mucky bit where
Yeah.
it's at one minute, Claude Code is the most astonishing tool I've ever used, and the next minute it can't tell the time. You know? Genuinely, I had a meeting booked a few weeks ago. I've got a coordinator agent that keeps me working. And it's connected to my Google Calendar, and it was about 7 a.m. and I had a meeting booked in at 12 at midday. And at 7 a.m. he goes, "You've got a meeting in an hour with this person. You need to get ready." I'm like, "No, I haven't." He goes, "Yes, you have. Look, you literally you can see my calendar. Look at my calendar. Tell me what time my meeting is." "Oh, it's at 12. Sorry." 15 minutes later, your meeting is in an hour. What are you doing?
Oh. You may is it possible you have the UK version? Because my American version doesn't do
Yeah,
that.
it's just I mean,
Oh,
I do like to be early for things, to be honest. I mean, it's maybe it just knows me better than I realized.
that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know the limitations of AI as well. I think a lot of individuals and leaders come into AI thinking it's a god. It's
Mm,
this all-knowing thing that, whatever it says is truth, and you have to know its limitations. I like the question that Farida put on here. She put 2 questions. When it comes to accountability, will a company adopting AI make the system or their model accountable legally and ethically? And then she says, how can a company unmask the bias embedded in their LLM models? To the first question, I want to hear what your mindset is. To me, if a company like I think this about people too. If you are a lazy person, you're gonna be and you bring AI in, you're gonna be a lazy person using AI.
yeah,
I mean, it's not gonna change who you are.
yeah,
You
10x
bring your
that laziness,
strengths.
you know?
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. But you bring your flaws in, and
Mm,
AI is not gonna solve that. It's gonna make more of what's already there. And when I think of a company, if a company is the kind of company that likes to squeeze every last drop out of employees, doesn't really care about a safe work environment for women, for example, or a company that as soon as somebody gives their 2-week notice, you just fire them because you don't want to have them for 2. That's a company that's not really. They're already not valuing the human value of people. They're not valuing their employees. So when you bring AI in, the use of AI is going to reflect that same lack of care for human skill. So to me, yeah, it's almost not surprising because a company that values people is gonna value people with AI. A company that doesn't value people, that the same is gonna happen with AI.
yeah. I agree. I agree completely. I worked with I knew one CEO, and his response to sort of AI and its usage was, "Well, the first decision we need to make is whether we want to use AI to get people to do more work,
Mhm.
or whether they do the same amount of work but less, if that makes sense. So maybe we implement a 4-day week rather than a 5-day week,
Yeah.
um, because AI allows that to happen." And as soon as if a leader's asking themselves that kind of question, you can sort of, as I think, as you say, you can probably assume they're going to make decisions that are beneficial to their employees, and
Mhm.
that's really nice to see. If the first thing out of the CEO's mouth is, "I want to 10x everyone and cut half the payroll,"
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't work with them personally. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And they've probably been trying to cut corners before AI.
Yep.
So, one of the things that when I work with the leaders that I coach, and they ask, "Well, what is one way that I can bring in AI strategically, but essentially show my employees that I care about their well-being while bringing in AI?" What I usually say is implement it somewhere, for example, in marketing, content repurposing, integrate it in there. Let employees know that they're going to save, say, 1 to 2 hours per week, but allow them, if you are able to save those 1 to 2 hours per week, we're gonna keep paying you for those 2 hours, but you're gonna get those 2 hours to now upskill yourself
Mm.
in whatever area you wanna upskill yourself.
Yeah.
So, you're saving some time, but that we are letting you take that time to become more skilled for whatever's coming in the future.
Yeah.
So you're letting them know, "Hey, you benefit us as an organization, but we also value you as an employee and your human value, and we wanna help grow that. We're not gonna just move you aside and bring in a robot."
And I think it's, I mean, it's, I suspect part of our role and the reason that we exist in this conversation is just to remind folks of that sometimes. You know, it's just giving them that little nudge and saying, "Hey, if you go out and say this, you just need to be prepared for this." You know,
Yeah,
because it's scary stuff. Our jobs are so important to us. It's, even if you're not that fussed about your career, it's still part of your identity. It's part of who you are. And if we're essentially saying to people, your identity and status is going to change,
yeah,
that that's scary. Whether it's AI or whatever the thing
yeah.
is that going to change that, that's scary stuff. And I think often the consultations I have start as a training problem, and it's like, oh, we need more training. More often than not, and in fact, I would say nearly 9 out of 10 times, it's not a training problem. It's a culture change, or it's a change management problem
Mhm.
that we're trying to fix. And I think what's scary for me is there was, I forget his name now, but the CTO from Deloitte, said a few months back, I think it was the start of the year, he said, in terms of budget, we're spending about 93% of budget on the tech and 7% of the budget on change management. And that was his reasoning for a lot of AI implementations not doing so well.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
can totally see
100%.
that. You know, totally
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna spend that much money, spend 5, 10% of that on change management, on people, on and make sure, I mean, the rate of success when you're thinking that people are coming from a specific, area, I mean, that's gonna be huge because and I love that you called it out, Diamantino also called it out, our job defines who we are.
Mhm.
When you ask somebody, "What do you do?" They're not gonna tell you, "Yeah, I'm a father of 2, I'm a husband, I'm a hiker,
They
they're gonna
should.
say, "I'm an accountant." You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I'm a bookkeeper. I'm XYZ, and I mean, to think of, I don't know, 60, 70 years ago, I am a factory worker that puts nuts on bolts, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, almost overnight, you now have a machine that does that more efficiently, faster, 24 hours a day. Your identity, if that was on that factory work, is gone, and I feel like that has to be acknowledged,
Oh,
by
absolutely.
companies.
And it's, I mean, it's, I don't know how much you know about the, history of the UK, but in the where I live, and the area I live in,
Textiles.
it was coal. There was a lot
Oh,
of
cool, okay.
mining here, and there was steel. Actually, in Sheffield, there was steel as well. But there was this whole period during the 1980s where the government was essentially at war with miners throughout the UK because they were shutting down a lot of the coal mining facilities,
Mhm,
and towns and villages had being built around these coal faces. And, you know, it wasn't just the money that people were losing, it was their power, and it was their status and their purpose. And I can see something like that happening in our future, where if you're an office worker, if you're a knowledge worker, and that's what you've been doing for however many years,
mhm,
there's a real worry that some of that's been going to be taken away from you. And the mistake that we made in this country with the coal miners was we didn't give them anything else. We just took that from them. Well, the government
mhm,
just took that from them, didn't replace it for anything else. And we must not make that mistake again. You know, every CEO who wants to adopt AI at the minute must think very carefully about how roles will change and how their business will support that change. And if they don't, well, the AI adoptions will keep failing. Um, and we'll keep seeing those stories in the news of, firstly, lots of people getting fired and AI being blamed for it, but then they get rehired with terrible contracts, and poor working conditions,
oh,
and, nobody wants that. So
but so what is a realistic solution there? Because I think it's very short-sighted when I hear on the news, just that AI is gonna bring so many new jobs,
Mm.
like managing all the bad vibe coding that is being put out. So there's gonna be a ton of new jobs. So all the people who are losing their jobs are gonna have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take into account the reality that the majority of the people who are in those execution jobs, who are in customer service, answering the phone and reading a manual or pointing people to the right direction, or an operator who just gets a call and says, okay, you need to go here. AI is going to do all that. Those people have been doing that job maybe for 15, 20 years. They're not going to be able to just flip a switch and move
Yeah.
on to an AI
You know,
driven.
throw in like you're a parent with a couple of kids and you're busy, and now you get a knock on the door from
Yeah.
HR and it's like, right, you need to change your entire career because we bought this new tech. It's like, really? I don't know. And I honestly I don't have the answer to that, but I think historically, any big disruption when it comes to tech has led to more work, not less.
Hmm.
It is unfortunately, it's not in our nature to do less as a species. It appears we want more stuff and we want to do
Well,
more and we want to make more. So I kind of hang on to that a little bit. Um, but I mean, who knows? I've seen so many. I kind of like watching the doom videos about how AI is going to destroy humanity. And my favorite one that I've seen so far, which I can kind of see in a way, is the way that the human species has progressed is learning. Is we have passed on knowledge from human to human
mhm.
for as long as we've existed. All the way back from we would sit at a campfire and two people would meet around a campfire and one would say, "Well, don't go that way. It was a great big dinosaur going to eat you," and the other one would say, "Well, don't eat those red berries because you'll be in a mess."
Yeah.
That's how we've learned. That's how we've progressed. And this theory I was reading or watching, whatever it was basically said if you take that away, the human species has no reason to exist anymore. And I found that super interesting. It's kind of like the film Wall-E, if you've ever
Hmm.
seen that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you take
I
away
just watched it with my daughter
oh, did
maybe
you?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice. It's a really depressing movie.
It is. It is. It is. It's a yeah, it's a stark reminder of let's not head in that direction.
It's not. Anyway. But no,
No,
I
I
think sorry, it's I was just gonna say, like, I think we need to be mindful of these things
yeah.
I guess what I'm saying. Like, we don't need to fall into pit of despair or anything, but we need to acknowledge what could happen. And if you can acknowledge what could happen, then hopefully that's a way of countering it from happening in the first place. And I think, like you say, there'll always be bad actors. There'll always be people who use it and do terrible things.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, and for anybody watch, I mean, I tell this to friends. If you are in a company where they clearly only care about the bottom line
mm,
and maximizing profits, that you probably don't wanna go in there as they're bringing in AI
yeah.
because it's not gonna be good. Um, and it's a tough environment for everybody else coming in too. So I think of my daughter. I'm already trying to help her with AI, how to use AI,
Mm,
but also how to still use books, how to use encyclopedias. But I think of education. I think of schools. They're painting AI as the bad guy. You have education and you have AI, and they're diametrically opposed
sure.
almost. And then you have those people come into jobs, and I hire a lot of people, and I have a bias towards people who it says AI experience in their resume because I'm wanting somebody who can come in with that. But when you have people coming in straight out of college to positions that most of the entry level positions are already taken care of by AI or different, it it doesn't bode well for the for the next 10 years, and that's
No,
really concerning.
no, it is a period of disruption. I'm going to try not to get on a soapbox about education, 'cause I don't want to scare all your audience away. I have quite strong feelings about education, and that's purely based on my own experience of school. I'm dyslexic. I dropped out of school when I was 16 years old. I didn't have a good experience of school.
Mhm.
Um, and you don't need to be Freud to figure out how I've ended up being a career in learning. Um, but I think institutions like this are scared because again, it takes away their power. Their power has been, and again, I'm not saying this is a negative or a positive. Their power has been in realms of education, it's that rote learning of just here's some information, remember it, recall it, do a test,
Yeah.
voila, you're now educated. And if a technology has come around and said basically like that's actually not needed anymore. Again, the
Yeah.
honest conversation these institutions need to have is that you have to figure out a different way of educating people. And as somebody who was very difficult to educate because of being dyslexic, I welcome that personally because that one model of learning that schools and universities are so keen on was terrible for me. You know,
Hmm.
I had a dreadful experience of it, and if AI forces education institutions to change, I would welcome that. But I would say I'm
But
basing
they're
that
gonna fight it
purely.
tooth and nail.
Oh, they will, they will. They're you know, it's already
Yep.
their solution so far has been let's build tech that detects AI.
Yeah, because
Well,
AI is a bad guy.
yeah, well, it okay. Everyone is using AI to write now. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I write a Substack. I use AI to write. You know,
Yeah.
it's there's no BSing about it. Kids are going to use AI, and the answer that has to be to educate them to use it well.
AI
Because
is gonna st yeah.
if they do use it as just a as an answering machine, then yeah, they won't be educated and they'll grow up, you know, poorer for it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just banning it is just not going to work, is it? I mean, it's just not.
Yeah. I see a future in the and there are already some schools that are trying this out, but I see a future where every kid takes a test in the beginning of the year, gets their learning style, and then every single test, every single quiz that they get for the rest of the year is passed through AI and given to them in the way that they learn it best. I mean, you could have customized education almost to every student's learning.
If you haven't seen this came out a few years ago, and it was one of the early things that got me really excited. Khan Academy, the gentleman
Yeah,
who
yeah,
Khan
yeah, yeah, yeah.
TED Talk.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that was that was one of my first sort of big light bulb moments of like, yes, this guy gets it.
Yeah,
How they are educating their kids using AI,
yeah,
not as an answer giver, but as a question
yeah,
asker, and that's
yeah,
how it should be used. It should be used to do the sort of you can use it to do a test and all this, and the role of a teacher needs to change. It needs to be about social skills. It needs to be about critical
yeah,
thinking. It's about conversation. Again, I don't want to get too much into the politics of it all, but we're not in a great state whether you're in the US or UK or wherever else now. Like it's the divisions within our countries are growing wider, and we
yeah.
need to be teaching kids how to talk and think and
Oh, yeah.
disagree in the right way. And that sounds like a more fun thing to do than a math test. Surely,
Oh, I mean, I'm in the United States right now, so, yeah, I'm
yeah,
from Argentina, but I'm scared to turn on the news sometimes,
I'm
to
not
see
sure.
the
Okay, so you're from Argentina. Okay, so I say I did. I got my agent to do a little bit of research on you.
Cool.
um, for today's talk. We talk a lot about the accuracy of AI, so we can test it a little bit if
Hey,
you
let's
like.
do it.
It reckons here.
By the
I'll
way,
give you.
did you name your agent?
Yes, I name my agents.
Or what's the name?
So I've got a team. So I'm building. And we'll probably get onto this in a bit, but
'Cause
I'm building
mine's Alf. My orchestra I have about 8 agents, but my main orchestrator is Alfred.
Alphabet. Okay,
So I
so
talk about Alfred
the
by name.
first team I built is I'm developing some software at the minute. I needed a coordinator. I needed someone to do the programming, and I needed something else as well, which I've now forgotten. Anyway, so I called them Bon, Powell, and Chamberlain. Oh yeah, Bon is marketing. Bon is marketing. Powell is my coordinator,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
Chamberlain is my coder. And they're actually named after architects who built a very famous housing block in the UK. And yeah, I've started naming it because it's the only way I can remember what they do.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I have to look on the little lists. But yeah, sure enough, and I've started talking to AI as well. I don't type so much anymore. I talk. Um, so my wife will walk past my office and just hear me talking to Bon, and she's far
Oh,
more
my
patient
kids
than.
my kids are used to it. My kids and my wife are used to it. Quick question to anybody on chat. Type the name of your AI agent
Yes,
if you have named it. I would love to see some of the names of the people watching.
yes, and I'll just say to the folks who are joined, thank you so much. It's so nice for you to come and listen. Um, because I am dyslexic, I can't talk to Joel and read the chat at the same time because my brain's not going to allow me to do that. So I'm going to trust Joel to
Yeah,
keep
I
track.
got it.
Um,
Grace and Tristan. Oh,
Grace and Tristan. I'd like
hey,
to know where those names come
those are
from.
good.
Yeah,
Those are good.
I like that. Grace is a great
So,
name.
what kind of questions did your agent, or what kind of information did
Oh
it
yeah,
give you
okay.
though?
So I'll just read it. I'll just read you a short
Okay.
paragraph of bit. So who he is. Um, an AI leadership coach and strategist, director of marketing operations at World Relief. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Good.
that's one of the roles that I have on the nonprofit side.
Born in Bolivia.
hmm
Nice. Two master's degrees, including an MBA.
hmm
Well, nice.
I wonder where it got that. LinkedIn.
Right for leaders who don't want to choose between innovation and integrity.
Nice.
There you go.
I may need to copy that. That sounds better than what I
I'll
have.
send it to you.
Oh,
Yeah, it's good. It's really like it's actually selected. So it's got a little bit about your publication, some of your side ventures. Here, it's got some stuff here. It's got some articles that it's cited for me to read and to have a look at, and then it actually talks about how you and I sort of could potentially connect as well,
I
uh,
love that.
which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
It is, and for that sort of stuff, I think it's great. It's so handy just to have those. And again, for anyone, but especially being dyslexic, this would take me about 6 weeks to find all this information on.
No, I that was amazingly accurate. So
Yeah.
there's a doctor in the United States that it's similar age, and it's also
Mm,
Joel Salinas, and writes a lot of medical articles, medical
yeah.
journals. So usually when somebody pulls up my bio, without without exception, there's usually something about me being a doctor somewhere. I don't know if it pulled that up, but I'm impressed. I mean, all those are correct.
No, it's got co-founded Kozora.org,
Mhm.
newslettercompass.com offers a fractional chief AI officer service.
Very cool.
And then, yeah, it's got his audience, nonprofit, mission led leaders.
So
His rise.
can I hire your marketing agent? 'Cause that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I first created Bon. Also, Bon gave herself a pronoun, by the way. Started referring to herself as her, which I did not ask her to do. So I have to. I
Oh,
now
that
respect
is
that.
that is funny.
But I remember when I first set Bon up, just wasn't getting stuff right. It was really bad, actually. And I got I genuinely got annoyed. Like I might get annoyed at the direct report. Like, why aren't you getting this right? And then, of course, like any manager, I realized, oh, I'm actually the problem, not my agent. And I
Better
realized
instructions, better context.
exactly, yeah. So actually, what we did is we sat down for a good morning, and we had a chat, we had a conversation. I talked, it wrote, um, and by the end of it, I'd sort of created this quite large MD file
That's
on
awesome.
everything that I cared about and believed, and what I wanted my business to be. And since then, it nails it every time.
That's that's a good point. Something that was uh, really a turning point for me in my use of AI, both as content creation and just advice and going back and forth. And I suggest this to anybody here who's listening. And we usually do this 45 minutes, so we'll stop soon. Um, Ask your AI to interview you. So ask it for a detailed back and forth interview to get your choice preferences, author preferences, what's your management style, writing style, what's your humor like. It it really blew me away how good some of the questions that it asked me were.
Mm,
And then what it did is it created a whole profile on me, on all my businesses and everything else. And then that was added into my Cloud Code MD file.
yeah.
And that's what powers everything else. So most of us wouldn't be able to articulate that. So yeah, try that. And honestly, tag us on Substack. Let us know how it went if you tried it. I'm
Definitely,
really
yeah.
curious.
I think I saw something, I read somewhere, if you phrase it as a question, "Ask me relentlessly about this," it'll keep questioning you, and I did try that once, and it really did sort of drill down into
Hmm.
into whatever it is we were talking about. And I do think that's a particularly good capability of Claude in general. It's good at asking questions and it's good at
Yeah,
pushing back compared to some of
really
the
is.
other things that I've used. Like I've joked on Substack a number of times. It kicks my ass all the time. Like it
Oh,
keeps me like
yeah, yeah. I had an idea that I put to Claude Code, for an update to my website, and it said, "I need to push back on that. It's not a good idea." I said, "Okay, go ahead and do it anyway."
Mm.
And it said, "I really don't think I should do this." Pushed back 3 times
Like, no, I'm
before
not
it
doing it.
actually agreed.
That's we've reached, is it what is it, AGI, is it? No, the Supreme
Yeah, yeah.
Intelligence. I gave it a draft of a newsletter a few months ago, which admittedly I had rushed, and it pulled out some feedback, and one of its bullet points was, "This is weak, and you know it." I was like, "Ow, that hurt."
Oh, wow.
Also, it rickrolled me. So
Uh,
I'm building some software at the minute. I'm building a e-learning authoring tool, and it's got a feature where you can embed a video, and we needed to test a video, so it pulled a video from YouTube. It was Rick Astley. I was like, "Have you did you just rickroll me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did." And it gave me a little winky emoji. I'm like, "Wow, this is how
Oh,
people fall in love with chatbots. This is
I'm
how."
telling you, I'm telling you. That's awesome. Man, I really feel like we could have one of these conversations every month. Um, but such an important topic. One of the questions that I like to always end with is, what are 2 books, 2 to 3 books that you recommend
Oh, wow.
people read?
I haven't actually recommended a book to anyone for ages. I spent so long recommending AI, but just general books I think are brilliant. And you're putting me on the spot here. There's oh, what is it? This is where I struggle with dyslexia. It's to recall.
Yeah.
It's Coaching Habits for Managers. I think it is by Michael something or other. Um, that's not helpful at all. So there's that one. I think Kim Scott's book, Radical Candor, is a
Yeah.
classic for managers, really.
Mhm.
Um,
Is it The Coaching Habit?
that's the one. Yes,
Okay.
The Coaching Habit. Yes, thank you so much. Absolutely amazing book. It
Yeah.
basically gives you 7 questions to ask in a coaching conversation, and it's designed specifically for managers, and it's just super relatable. You can read it in an afternoon if you put your mind to it, and it's one of the few books that I've read where you can genuinely use it the next day. And I love it for that. And then, yeah, I think Kim Scott's is a brilliant personality. I love listening to her podcasts anyway. Um, and
Yeah.
just yeah, it's not that radical, really, is it? But it is something definitely worth reading, I think.
Yeah. No, those are awesome. The Coaching Habit is one I haven't read in a long time, so I actually need to refresh on that.
Every time I buy it, I give it to somebody and I never get it back. So I've bought like 5 copies and I never get it back. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
no, that's awesome. Paul, I really appreciate your time. You've been generous with everything that you've shared, and everybody who is, here watching, please subscribe. You'll be able to catch a lot more of the kind of things that we've talked about, and focusing on human value and, where we're heading. And lately, a lot of Claude Code.
A lot of
So,
cloud covers, a lot of that going about, isn't there? Well, thank you, Joel. I've had a wonderful. I was half asleep when we started because it's quite late for you. I'm wide awake now. Thank you very much.
I'm glad. I hope you're able to go get some rest now.
No, it's fine. I'll probably just jump on Claude if I'm honest. Do some more. But no, genuinely, I really enjoy your newsletter as well. I think you and I are aligned on a lot of
Yeah.
things. It's nice that you're fighting a good fight. Thank you so much. And I think just also for that you do this and you invite so many writers, I think that's a credit to the community. So thank you for doing that as well.
Yeah. No, it's a privilege. I love hearing different mindsets, different approaches, and yeah, it's always energizing. Thank you so much, Paul.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Hey, bye.
Bye.
Thank you all, chat.